a twist, and thank God I get to do this Raw recap and review on August 3rd, 2026 in Des Moines, Iowa. And if you enjoy WWE content like this, please subscribe to the channel because every week we do a Raw recap and review, and we do PLE reviews such as SummerSlam. Saturday and Sunday reviews are up now on the channel. Also, we do WWE 2K26 content on this channel as well. And also, I do music. Just dropped my newest project with my great friend Swear God. It's called HTSG 2, Haters Twist, Swear God. It's out on all streaming platforms, and it's a playlist of the songs on this YouTube channel as well, so you can check that out. Now let's get into the first segment of Raw. The first segment of Raw, we start off with the winner of SummerSlam Days main event, Roman Reigns, the OTC, the World Heavyweight Champion, and he walks down to the ring. He says, "Iowa, acknowledge me." He goes on to say that he called his shot and he delivered. He said he was going to go win the Rumble. He did that. Then he said he was going to go to Mania and beat the old man. He did that. And then he said he finally beat Seth Rollins. And, you know, he in Iowa. So he was like, you know, I know that's your boy. And I know that may hurt to hear. So I'm going to go. But, you know, me and him, they found a little bit of peace. So I'm going to go and let y'all cook. And they started doing Seth Rollins' theme, the whoa. So that was cool. And then L.A. Knight, yeah, popped out. Let me talk to you. He says, you know, congrats to you, Roman. You retained the championship, you know. And he says, I'm an E-Crow. I didn't think you were able to do it by yourself, and you did it by yourself. So congrats on that. But at the end of the day, you're still a fraud. He says, you know, because I've been saying your name for months. And instead of like dealing with me, you keep sending your cousins near me. You keep sending the bloodline after me, man. And he says, the reason we need to run that fade is because, you know, the last time we was one-on-one, it wasn't really one-on-one. So he really want that fight. And he says, we could do it tonight. We could do it next week, Money in the Bank. Or we could wait all the way to WrestleMania. But just know, I'm next in line. He says, you know, the only answer you can save to this is, yeah. Roman says, you know, see, and that's the thing I be talking about, man, calling me a fraud. He said, how am I a fraud? Like, who do you think you're talking to right now? He says, I'm not the one calling myself the megastar, and I'm wearing a good old Walmart watch. And he said, you see this watch? He said, this is a skeleton tourbillon. He said, he got an expensive watch on. He was basically flexing about that. And he says, you have nothing to call upon. Like, you haven't had any big matches. All you did was beat my cousins. You ain't win no tournament to earn it. You ain't getting into this. He says, and he looks at the camera and says, and we're not gonna do this again. We're not gonna have bitching and moaning to get championship matches. So you know what, LA? Get to the back of the line. And he leaves the ring. And LA said, hold on. I got one more thing. He said, I ain't gonna lie. Your aura is tough, but you look way less cooler in person. You do the little face scrunches and everything. He says, it's funny. You talk about all this, you know, let's talk about the number. The numbers show that, you know, you would use the numbers a lot to shield yourself against people like me, people who deserve it the most. And he says, Roman is everything Roman wished he could be, and that he is the true uncrowned champion of the WWE Universe. You might be getting the LA Roman match coming on soon. I would love to see that. LA's probably going to lose, so he might not ever get a chance, man. I don't know. He might need that Money in the Bank, get sneaky with it to get a win. But I would love to see that match again. Then we get into our first match of the night. We got that boy Bouncy Javon Evans versus All Ego Ethan Page. And we start the matchup with a big tie-up between an Irish whip landing off with an Ethan Page shoulder tackle, knocking him down. But Javon runs the ropes and then jumps off the rope for a springboard right into a roll-up pin. Never seen that before. That was cool. They kick out of it. And then Ethan gets multiple strikes on him, back and forth, but then tries to do a clothesline. But Javon does the Matrix kip up right into the backflip dodge on the springboard, into a big boot. And then he says, you know what time it is. That boy Bouncy Hurricanrana right down to a drop kick, head full of steam. Javon has at least Ethan Page rolling outside the ring. He said, you know where we going? We outside. Drop down on that man. Then he gets him inside the ring. He hits him with the top rope crossbody. He just whooping that man crazy back and forth. He goes onto the apron, and then Ethan tries to fight him, but he gives him a big punch and then jumps over into a roll up on him and then to a big drop kick and goes for a pin there. 1, 2, kick out from Ego. Ethan Page gets a comeback when he reverses Javon near the apron and grabs his head and slams him on the buckle. He falls outside when he hits him with a big boot. When he gets him, he slams his face into the apron. And then in the ring, he gets him with a big elbow and goes for a pin. But a kick out from Javon with that one. Then Ethan is now slowing the match down, grabs him, hits him with a big backbreaker, and then hits him with a strong Irish whip into the corner. That leads to Javon trying to get a comeback in. He's landing punches back and forth, but Ethan slows him down by hitting a big back suplex onto him. Ethan is doing the sleeper holding him, but he gets up. Javon tries to run away, but he ends up elbowing him in the back and forth. Then Javon comes back, gets crazy punches back and forth. He's in the corner now. He tries to kick him in the corner. Ethan catches it. He goes, dumbass. Big punch to the face after that. Right into the corner, enziguri to the back. That leads to Javon and going to the apron, hitting the big springboard clothesline on that man. And then he's about to go for another springboard move, but this time Ethan pulls the rope down. Javon falls, hits his head on the ground. Then Ethan picks him up for a big back suplex, goes for another pin. 1, 2. Kick out from Javon. At least Ego trying to land the Ego plex, but that gets reversed by Javon into a roll up. They get a kick out from that. And Ethan tries to do another back suplex again, but this time Javon flips in midair, back to a splash onto him. Then he gets the Ole to the outside. They're now fighting on the outside now. Ethan grabbing Javon's leg and pulling him down while he's on the apron. Then he grabs him and then slams him into the table. But then Javon fights back and gets him onto the table and then throws him over the barricade. That leads him to do the Undertaker dive over the barricade right there. And he gets him back into the ring, hits him with the red dot, which is a bounce off the rope, spinning kick. 1, 2, kick out from Ethan. That leads to Javon then try to go for the OG cutter. But Ethan Page grabs his leg, pulls him down off of that, and tries to go for a pin with his legs on the rope, which is a no-no. That's illegal. The ref stops him. And Javon, with that distraction, hits him with a big boot. He tries to go for the red dot again, but this time got reversed at mid-air by Ethan with a big code breaker, aka the confidence breaker. 1, 2. Kick out from Javon, though. At least Ethan then doing the pull-up, slam right down. Goes for the pin on that one. 1, 2. Kick out from Javon again. He's pissed off. He grabs him. He throws him to the outside. With that distraction, he tries to take the buckle off the pad, but the ref turns back around and says, hold on, you can't do that. And as they're arguing, Javon literally jumps over Ethan and the ref right into the 1, 2. Dat boy bouncy. He gets the 3. Javon, big dub. Crazy back and forth match. A lot of high impact action. Javon looked great. Ethan looked like a good heel. Even though he took the loss, he still looks a little strong. Like Javon had to do something insane to get that win right there. But the fun ends after that because Big Cass does his return and big boot to Javon. He instantly goes for him, dancing with a big clothesline, and then he did a no-no. He grabbed the black man by the dress. He walking that man. He dog walking him. Then he pick him up for the East River Crossing, which is basically a bear hug into a spinning sidewalk slam. And he just looked big and swole out there, man. So the Big Cass showing he out with a vengeance. Then we get backstage with Roman Reigns giving the Bloodline a major talking to. He's upset about them losing, and he says that Solo should be right here, right now, on his hip. Like if he says, "Hey Solo, get me coffee," he should be getting him coffee, like doing errands for him, and then ask him Fatu about what's going on with Royce Keys. Like he says, like you're saying, like for all you guys are supposed to be family, but you guys aren't family. Your only real family is us right now. And Roman also complains about LA Knight, and Jimmy said, "Hold on, we can go handle LA." He said, "No, it's too late now. I can handle that." And he walks off, and the Usos are matching, talking about that. Talking about he can handle LA. That leads to LA Knight walking up and says, "Oh, good job. Did I hear that right? Or did he say, 'Do not touch me'?" And then he like pump faking in front of them. He said, "Yeah, leave me alone," like Roman said. You don't want to get bent over and spanked by daddy. I was like, that's crazy. This feud gonna cook. Then that leads to another segment backstage where Royce Keys tries to patch it up with Jacob Fatu, trying to get like the brotherhood back there. He says, he says you can let all that other stuff from the past, let it go, because we brothers. And Fatu says, you ain't brothers, man. You just one of the boys. So let's run a street fight tonight. And I bet you I'll dog walk your ass. We get a little bit more talking with the Judgment Day popping out. We got Liv Morgan, who retained her championship with Big Mommy Cool, the new IC champion, Raquel Rodriguez, and Roxanne Perez. And Liv is in the ring and says, "You guys are in the presence of the greatest women champion of all time." And she goes on to say that she defeated Io because she defeated one of the best women's wrestlers of all time, being Io Sky. And she gives her props because out of all the women in the locker room, she's the only one that challenged her. But right now, she doesn't see any new challengers. And that means she's going to be the longest champion of all time. But then she goes on and say, it's not about just me. We're going to talk about Big Mommy Cool, Raquel Rodriguez. She won that IC title. And then she goes on to say they couldn't have did it without the prodigy Roxanne Perez. Roxanne in a couple minutes is gonna go whoop on Soul and prove to y'all that the Judgment Day runs WWE. So that leads us to our second match tonight. We got Roxanne Perez versus Sol Ruca, the former IC champion. And that match starts after commercial break because they had the whole promo before that. So we get into the match with Sol having Roxanne Perez's arm. She has a good arm manipulation on. She's wrenching it back and forth. But then Roxanne finds a way to get the rope to get the ref separation. She leaves the ring, groups up with her group. And then Sol gets out the ring. She's impatient, tries to chase after her. And Roxanne punches her and tries to get in the ring. And then Sol grabs her leg. She's kicking her off of her. And then they get back into the ring. And Roxanne goes for a hurricanrana onto her. But that gets caught into a pin. And they have multiple pins back and forth. And they kick out of them. And Roxanne finishes off with a big slap to her. Disrespects her. And then grabs her hair. Slams her down to the ground. Hitting her big punches back and forth. And the corner now, see that she's putting boots on her. But one of the boots gets caught by Sol, and she stands up and throws her down to the ground, getting good ground and pound back and forth onto her. Leads to Sol, then hitting big, strong Irish whips back and forth into the corner, and then picking her up for a big spinning slam down to the ground. Then hitting her with a drop kick, and then putting her in a good surfboard position. It's when the person doing the move is on the ground and they're lifting up their opponent's body. Excruciating pain in wrestling canon. At least them running back and forth, and Sol trips Roxanne, and then she flips over her to a big super kick that leaves her leaving outside the ring. Roxanne is standing outside. Sol goes onto the apron, does the big apron moonsault to the outside, and then she gets her back into the ring. She's finna do the cartwheel off the rope. But Roxanne stops her midway, and she ends up hitting her face on the rope. And that's how we get on to the commercial break with Roxanne on top. We get back from the commercial break with Roxanne and Sol having a boo, yeah. But it's won by Sol, hitting her good striking combo right into an Irish whip, right into a big elbow of her, back and forth, 2 elbows. And then she picks up Roxanne right into a big German suplex. She kips up out of it and then does the big running knee to her. 1, 2, kick out from Roxanne. Roxanne tries to fight back. She hits a hurricanrana pin onto Sol, but Sol flips out of that and then tries to go for an X Factor, but that gets reversed by Roxanne as well, and then she drops down, tries to get into Pop Rocks, but Pop Rocks gets reversed by Sol right into the big X Factor. That was it was a cool but goofy sequence because in between she tried to do a kick and it was supposed to hit Sol, but it didn't. But that leads to Sol having an advantage, and Raquel jumps on the apron for a distraction. The ref is now looking at Raquel, and Sol tries to go for the Soul Snatcher, but Liv pulls down Sol's leg so she could fall, but the ref turns around and she sees it. That leads into a DQ win for Sol, but it don't look like she won because the Judgment Day then proceeded to whoop her ass. They start jumping her. Roxanne finally lands Pop Rocks on her. Then Raquel gets her and picks her up for the big Tejana bomb. They jumping her back and forth, but then the man popped out and says the man has come around to Des Moines, and that leads to Sol then just leaving the ring. So before we get coming on what happened between Becky and Judgment Day, we're gonna rate that match. I give it that match a 3.75 stars. I was leaning towards 4 stars, but then that whole ending, and then they just like treated it like it didn't care. But like I like the back and forth, and I think this was like one of the best showings Soul has had in the WWE roster. So, but it's crazy. They just like treated her like she was nothing after Becky Lynch came back. So now back to what Becky's saying. She goes on the Raquel ends up lifting up her belt, and Becky's like, I ain't coming for that. I'm done with that. I'm done with that IC title. She said, I came here for you, sweet cheeks. Talking about Liv Morgan, it says that Liv should be ashamed for acting the way she does. She's basically just walking around like she's a glorified valet, and says a real women's champion should be fighting instead of flirting. And she says you actually have the worst reign of all time. And it's not just me saying it. Everyone else is saying it. And Liv goes on to say, you know what? This is really pathetic of you. You should be at home being a mom with your daughter, but instead you're up here doing this because you're jealous because it's my time and not your time anymore. And that leads to them saying, okay, bye. They leave. And Becky laughs. She's like, that's funny. You aren't even the best champ in your group. And you know what? You're not even the best person who slept with Dominic Mysterio. And that was crazy. So it's canon that Dom smashed Rhea and Liv? Is that canon? Is that lore? Looking at, but then that leads to, but then you see the Kane pyro, boom. Stephanie Vaquer is back, and she on a mission. She whooping Raquel, whooping Roxanne, and she chased Liv Morgan all the way down to the ring, and she pop her down, punches, back and forth, whooping her in the ring, and that girl Becky just sitting on the turnbuckle, just enjoying the show. Liv and the Judgment Day then run away, and then we get a big face off between Stephanie and Becky back and forth. Stephanie's like, hey, stay away from that belt. She's like, what you gonna do if I don't? What you gonna do if I don't? So I ain't gonna lie, Stephanie Becky Lynch, cinema. That's gonna be a W match right there. Oh, it might even be a triple threat. We're gonna have to wait and see. But that's going to be the end of part one. Yes, if you're new to the channel, I do my Raw recap and reviews in part ones and part twos. This is part one. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel so you can see part two, man. So remember, y'all, Jesus loves you. Watch part two.